Good morning. My name is Chris NDIKUMANA. I'm the host of the Kanguka broadcast. You're going to listen to broadcast translated from Kirundi to English. Be blessed.
Today's Thursday. This morning I want to continue the topic I started last Thursday. I was asking the question, why does God bless His children? I'm talking about material blessings. There are spiritual blessings and there are material blessings. So why does God bless His children? Why does He give you a job? Why does He give you a promotion? Why does He allow you to be successful? As I told you last Thursday, there is a reason why God blesses you. We read about it in 2 Corinthians 9 verse 8. This verse clearly says that God is able to make all grace abound to you so you can meet all your daily needs. You need money for healthcare, you need food, you need clothes. So God blesses you so that all your needs can be met, but it doesn't stop there. That's what I want to help you to understand. I want all the children of God to know that God doesn't bless you only because He wants to solve your problems, but He also blesses you so you can do good works for others. That's why the last part of the verse says that having all sufficiency in all things, you may have an abundance for every good work. And last week I explained verse 9, which says that God has dispersed abroad. It means that He has given many things and He has given to the poor. He takes care of the poor, and His righteousness endures forever. In this chapter, Paul is talking about giving to God's work. He wants you to understand that when God gives you something, He's not just thinking about you, but He's also thinking about others. This is what I want you to understand today. If you go further up, you'll see that verse 6 says that he who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. If you sow a little bit of seed, you will reap a small harvest. But if you sow a lot of seed, you will reap a big harvest. This is a principle that God has established. But there's a problem with many children of God, because even though they only sow a little bit of seed, they often ask God to bless them so they can reap a lot. I'll say it again. Many children of God often ask God to give them a big harvest, but they only sow a little bit of seed. It means that their prayers are not in line with God's principle. You want to reap a big harvest but you only sow a little bit of seed. That's not how it works. If you want a big harvest, you need to sow a lot of seed. Please note that when I talk about sowing a lot of seed, I'm not talking about the amount of money. No, I'm talking about sowing a lot based on what you have. Every person should give according to their income. If you don't sow and you only pray, you only make declarations by faith and you believe that you're going to receive a big harvest, it means that you're making declarations that are not in line with God's principles. If you want God to take care of the things that are important to you, you need to take care of the things that are important to Him. I'll say it again. If you want God to take care of the things that are important to you, you need to take care of the things that are important to Him. So how do you take care of the things that are important to Him? We saw that God gives abundantly. He cares a lot about the poor. He cares about His work. He cares about the widows. He cares about the orphans. If you want God to bless you, if you want to reap a big harvest, you need to take care of God's interests. When you do that, it means that you're taking care of the things which are important to God. The children of God need to change the way they think. The children of God often come before God so He can bless them. They keep saying, "Bless me, give me more." You make declarations, you speak with faith, but you don't sow. Let me tell you that if you want to reap, then you must sow. I'll continue to talk about this next Thursday. If you want to reap, you must sow by faith and with love, and you must take care of the interests of God. We're now in the second part of the broadcast and we're going to continue the teaching called Prayer and Supplication. This teaching will come to an end tomorrow. I showed you some examples from the Bible so you can understand the difference between prayer and supplication. It's good to pray, but sometimes you need to make a supplication. Sometimes your prayer can be answered, but other times a simple prayer is not enough and you need to make a supplication. As I explained to you, you need to know God's promises. You need to know what God says. You need to declare those promises and you need to know where they are located in the Word of God. When you declare God's promises, the angels take action according to those promises. God's promises are very important because God watches over His word in order to fulfill it. God releases power for the fulfillment of His promises. Remember that Jesus would often say, "Let it happen so the scriptures can be fulfilled." For example, when Jesus was going to be arrested, He told His disciples to let it happen so the scriptures can be fulfilled. So God's promises need to be alive in your life. At the end of yesterday's broadcast, I was talking about praying and making supplications in order to get out of poverty or financial hardships. I told you that you should shouldn't keep trying to cast out demons of poverty or curses or sorcerers that are attacking your finances, but you need to understand that if you put into practice God's principles, those sorcerers and demons will fail. I can assure you that there is no sorcerer who has more power than the Word of God. If you apply the Word of God in your life, those sorcerers and demons and curses will no longer have any power in your life. You need to stop giving out of fear because you're afraid that a curse will come upon you, or you're afraid that people will accuse you of robbing from God. No, you need to give with joy. I showed you some Bible verses which clearly demonstrate that if you don't give with joy, you're not giving to God, you're just giving to a man. If you want to give to God, you need to give with joy. This morning I want to speak to the single people who are praying for marriage. I want to speak particularly to the girls. You need to know what God says about marriage. Genesis 2 verse 18 says, "It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him." It means that God himself saw that it's not good for a man to be alone. If you're a single man, you should stand on this verse and say, "God, you saw that it's not good for me to be alone. I don't know her yet, but you have prepared a helper for me in the same way that you have prepared Eve for Adam." If you read verse 19, you can see that God created many animals. And verse 20 says that Adam gave names to all the animals, but he couldn't find a helper comparable to him. Verse 21 says that God put Adam in a deep sleep, and he took one of his ribs and he made it into a woman and he brought her to Adam. You can see that it's God himself who gave Adam a wife. I want you to know that even today it's God who gives you a wife. If you're a single man, you need to know that a wife comes from God. It's true that he won't take your physical rib and turn it into a wife, but he has a wife for you. You may not have seen her yet, you may not have met her yet, but God knows her. When you pray, you should stand on this promise. You should say, "God, I know that you have prepared a wife for me in the same way that you have prepared Eve for Adam. And it's not good for me to be alone. There's a helper for me. She is somewhere." When you make your supplication to God, you should stand on those words. Don't just say that you need a wife. No. Whether you're a man or a woman, you need to stand on God's promises. If you are a woman, you should say, "I'm a woman and there is a man that you created so I can be his helper." So you need to stand on that promise. It's good to invoke God's promises when you're praying for marriage. In 1 Corinthians 11 verse 9, Paul wrote that the man was not created for the woman, but the woman was created for the man. You need to stand on this word. I'm speaking to the women who are praying for marriage. You need to understand that man wasn't created for the woman, but the woman was created for the man. I want all the women who are listening to me to understand that as a woman you were created for a man. There is a man for whom you were created. I hope that you understand this. So when you're praying for a husband, you should say, "God, I want you to lead me to the man for whom I was created, because you were created for a man." When you pray like that, the angels receive special power, and they will use those words that you're saying in order to take action, because your words are based on God's promise. Remember that as soon as Hezekiah invoked a promise from the Word of God, the prophecy he had received was immediately changed because of the power of the Word of God. God willing, I'll continue tomorrow, and this teaching will come to an end tomorrow. May I bless you and have a great day. If you're blessed or transformed by Kanguka teachings, you can send us a WhatsApp audio on +2567813777337.